It's Monday, it's July 31st, 2023. I'm having a problem this morning. It's foggy, like short-term memory, trying to hold the thought and carry forward. I'm itemizing out in a list my thoughts to try to narrow in on it. But where I am in people, inside New York this week. It's that Dennis Quaid. Again, I don't know his affiliations. I also see Tony Bennett. They made mention that he's August 3rd. And then they have something about Jamie Foxx. So that's this week's people. Now, I haven't read through it cover to cover. It's a reference for timing um, in the physical realm, since I'm stuck in holographic universe somewhere between the headlines, the real world, and some anchor points. I'm listening to CWS this morning, and Susan Casey. I have no idea who this woman is. I just saw her this morning, but that's the name or the label that they give her. It says Understanding the Underworld. And I'm listening to her speak about the Titan um, and the sphere very carefully. And then I'm going to rewind it because this performer or entertainer um, within my presidential palace space, they use this label of American, but I saw Tom Clancy's version of Jack Ryan. I saw episode Black 22, and it brought up the French perspective, brought up a good point in there about the hyphenated world. So this is where the United States of America and the Federal Reserve, this is our portrait for historical context on other pieces of things that exist in this world and realm. So I'm going to put on Susan Casey real quick, and then I'm going to go back because I wasn't originally. I was watching when, just like I do all the programs about Taylor Swift. Um, Again, I don't worship or make mention or ideology. Like, again, there's something between emblematic and problematic. So I'm watching and I'm just listening. They used 2/3 of the references to worship Beyonce in her concert last night than they did when Taylor Swift's turn was. So I'm noticing the differential in airtime used in New York for promotions standards. So I'm just going to put this piece on and then I'm going to reference back to that particular concert and just how much journalistic effort was made for the last night's concert that was held at MetLife.
Submersible was such an outlier. Man submersible, there aren't that many that can go to that depth. Aside from the one Titan, there are only 6 others, 6 or 7, and they all have spherical pressure hulls because the sphere is what's going to keep you safe. And everybody in the man submersible world, it's a very tight knit, small world, was just kind of terrified of that sub because it's one thing to be a disruptor, but it's another thing to try to disrupt the laws of physics. You're going to withstand this pressure when you're down there, and the craft has to be built not just to withstand it, but like 20, 30, 40% more, and it just wasn't, and it's tragic.
It's very tragic. Well, Susan Casey, this is such a great book.
Planning in Dive, Susan Casey.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Gail wants to go.
We'll be following along.
We've had this
We'll watch from
conversation.
afar. The Underworld goes on sale tomorrow.
But I'm cheering
Check it out.
for Susan Casey always.
All right, up next, more.
Okay, so that's about the underworld and talking about submersibles. And then I'm going to rewind it back to where they did this promotion of Beyonce. But I will say that Taylor Swift, she had crowds and lines in multiple cities on her Eras tour. while Beyonce's trying to do something about a beehive or bayhive. But in my presidential palace like area. So this is concerning for me. Another like red flag that goes up, and then promotions within my airspace, like that space in between, that like hovercraft, they're using a lot of it in order to promote non presidential palace children, one favored over the other, and they're using 2/3 of their time in order to do so, which is also potentially problematic, um, with ratios being off and what's currently going on politically inside New York City, which I've also been documenting from afar. Okay, so this is now the talk of the table about this promotion about Beyonce.
The table is Beyonce rocking MetLife Stadium in New Jersey over the weekend in the CBS Beehive.
And they did not do the same promotional effort for when Taylor Swift was in her Eras tour.
Beehive was there. Yes. So that is my daughter in the middle, her friend Danny to her right, and then my wife off of her shoulder. I'm in the background somewhere grooving. I mean, we had a great time. And look who else was at the stadium for the Renaissance Tour. Our very own Jerika Duncan, all decked out for the occasion. Her and her friend hanging out, having a good time. Michelle Miller made her way to MetLife Stadium. I mean, we were in the building.
Wow.
And you know what? Someone else at this table was shaking a little something, something.
Release the wiggle, release the stress.
Release the
Natalie, this has never happened before where Nate and I have the same talk at the table. But I went to Beyonce concert last night. I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. Sunday afternoon, I was well rested. This morning, I got an hour and 22 minutes of sleep. So
I
I'm
don't feel
starting.
sorry for you at all because you're at Beyonce.
Vacation to
But
Beyonce.
Beyonce is worth staying up
Yeah.
late on a school night. That's why we're talking about it twice. My talk at the table is the experience at MetLife Stadium last night.
Wow.
This is sort of breaking news because Oprah went out of the house. I don't know. I can't remember the last time she's been to a concert, but she's in town because she's shooting something over at Oprah Daily.
That's quite the trio. You, Oprah, and Beyonce, Mama.
Yeah,
And you were hanging out with Tina.
Yeah, we had a great time. We got to see Beyonce right before the show, and I said, "What do you do on show days? What is this like for you?" And she said, "Well, I'm a mom. She's got, just think about this. She's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
She's got a husband. Jesse, of course, was there. She said, I'm a mom. So, I'm a mom, and then I come and do the show, and then I go back home, and I'm still a mom. But that concert, I can't say enough about it. It was a visual feast for the eyes. I don't know about you, Nate,
No
but
doubt.
I tried to keep track of the costume changes. After a while, I just gave up. She is a pure entertainer, performer.
Incredible. Her daughter, Blue Ivy,
Yes.
killed it.
Yes, yep. Got
Absolutely
Blue Ivy
fantastic.
on stage,
Listen,
too.
I'm not trying to have recency bias. I know I'm not excited. I'm on a high just like you, Gil.
Yeah.
But I walked away from that concert believing, truly believing,
Yes.
that Beyonce is the greatest performer of all time. She can
I
sing, she
agree.
can dance, she can do it all. And her crowd control. She had 40,000 people in the palm of her hand for 2 hours.
And nobody,
They're also referencing her as Queen Bee, but inside New York's airspace.
nobody dared to throw anything at Beyonce.
Oh,
No,
think of that.
we don't.
The Beehive would have lit them up.
Visual
Yes.
feast for the guys. If you get a chance to see it, run, don't walk to see her show. It's like nothing you've ever seen before.
Comes out west. I'll be there.
Yes.
All right, switching gears now.
So I'm inside this, and they're referencing her as Queen Bee in some promotional gig, but in New York airspace and in the United States of America airspace and within the Federal Reserve, where our presidential palace, where they use terms like king, queen, and so on and so forth, has a very different visual interpretation of what a king and a queen actually looks like. So this is disturbing. And I don't know why it's allowed to be promoted that way or why this continues to exist inside of the system. Um, it just seems potentially hazardous as far as like an interior ministry like perspective. So I'm just making note of it and putting it out there to In God We Trust in order to make mention of it. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. Its Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and its Bayside station, Bayside, New York, 11361.